We're live. Should we retell the generator story? No,
We can. I'm here for it.
I think the people eat that up. Listeners love that. They love home disasters for people that were dead. When was that, by the way? So for those just joining, by the way, Barrett King, who we'll get to in a moment, who he actually is, but we don't care about what he does or anything important. Tell us about your home generator.
Yeah, it feels like a really logical topic for our conversation today. Back in 2019, October 2019, bought a new house, moved my wife and son in with me. My son's an infant. He's like 8 months and 9 months at the time. And we have a typical nor'easter. I'm south of Boston, so we have them all the time. And this like old growth, 12-foot wide behemoth of a tree 2 streets over from me fell. And when it fell, it didn't just take down wires, it took down like 9 poles. Like it literally snapped poles. And so we lost power, and we lost power for almost 5 full days. It was 4 3/4 days. House got down to like 48 degrees. Needless to say, we were not happy. We had to heat his bottles over a candle in the kitchen on the counter. We went full, like, early settler move or whatever. And so I called the company that does generators, as one does after a disaster like that, and said, "Hey, I want a generator." And they were like, "Cool, yeah, you and your entire neighborhood. Thanks for letting me know." And so I said, "Great, but I have an infant here and it really matters." And the guy was like, "Hey, we'll get to you like this year." Something like 6 weeks later, I get the phone call. "We're coming to your house. We're doing it now." And it was not cheap, but it was probably the best money I've ever spent as a homeowner, because now if somebody breathes in the wrong direction and the power blips, the whole house comes back on. Like I'm talking that next year, massive snowstorm, neighborhood out for 3 days. And we were watching movies, eating popcorn like a bunch of jerks. It was great.
I was just going to say, most people do this, spend all that money, and then like,
it never happens.
Never happens.
Yeah.
At all.
No, it happens. I haven't lost power, knock on wood, this year. We've had a couple brownouts just from big storms, and a few it runs out for 2 hours or whatever kind of thing. The thing kicks on, it runs the entire house, take a hot shower, watch a movie, eat some food. Like it is the best thing I've invested in as a homeowner.
I've been in my house for 10 years. I'm on a well, and I've been lucky, knock on wood. I don't have a house generator, but you know what happens if we get out of power? It's a hotel, because we don't got toilets.
Everything shuts off. Yeah, that's the thing. It shuts off your entire house. And like, I know we're going to talk about partnerships here, but when you think about like the way that you operate and run your home, it's sort of like a business, and it's a partnership with all of these different vendors, and you hope that they hold up their end of it. Well, New England, like I'll say this openly on a recorded line, has some of the worst infrastructure, because we were originals to this country in that sense, and we just never did anything with it, right? So a lot of our power lines are above ground. A lot of our water is like fairly shallow. So those things break. And just the idea of like waking up it happened a few times, like at 3 a.m, and everything is shut off, and like your fridge spoils and you wake up and that kind of stuff, versus now the only negative, and this is so bougie to say on any story, but like the entire house turns on because a lot of our lights are on an app on my phone. And so at like 3 a.m, you hear the generator kick, and then all the lights are full blast. That's my only negative to having a whole home generator.
I feel like if you're going to do that, you might as well put like the every device, Alexa, like start blasting music just to get everybody up and going.
Something intense too, like Rammstein or whatever, like go just full on angry screamo at 3 a.m. Let's go.
Yeah.
Real man of the people, Barrett King, everybody. Well, that was an interesting, but that's why people tune in. They want to hear about. This is exactly what people...
They want to hear about generators.
They
want to hear about infrastructure in New England.
The amount of comments I've gotten say your lack of generator talk in residential homes is saddening to me. So I'm glad we got that out of the way early. Barrett, now that you've told us about your personal life, all that fun stuff, let's talk about your professional life. Who are you? Why should people listen? Why are you at all in this AG ecosystem?
Sure.
Give me the 50,000 foot flyby. Who is Barrett King?
Who is Barrett King? So back in 1985, no, I won't do that whole thing. I mean, look, I've spent most of my professional career in partnerships. I started early on in hospitality and restaurants, opening a couple restaurants in Boston, and I was a GM. And a lot of those early relationships you develop with vendors and relationship, with local businesses that you cater for and hold parties for and such, those are partnerships. And so I never intentionally went into partnerships, but I learned about those things early on. And then I went to tech. And for me, tech has always been somewhere between a sales role and a partnerships role. The last 12, 13 years now, it's only been partnerships. And so I did something like 9 years at HubSpot in a variety of different roles across the ecosystem, everything from acquiring partners to I was the global head of sales and partner training for a couple of years. I managed some of HubSpot's top partners. I did global strategy for a while around partners. So a bunch of the sort of surround sound of the partner ecosystem that they were building at the time. And then I worked for a top partner for a period of time after that role in that company, just to learn about services businesses from the inside out. And then for the last 99 days today, I have been at Ramp, and I'm the head of alliances. So I get to work with all of the letter acronym partnerships, ERP, HRIS, ISV, all that fun stuff. And then within those ecosystems, we've developed a services partner model where we work with businesses like yours and others to deliver additive value to our customer base. And so for me, partnerships has been an integral part of my professional career, and I really wouldn't have it any other way.
How did you get to Ramp, by the way? I mean, you spent all this time in HubSpot. You kind of left one specific ecosystem into a pretty different one, if you think about it.
Yeah. It's a pretty clear reason. I know somebody here, so we'll keep it simple in that sense. But I think, I had a really smart leader once say to me, you're either the smartest guy in the room, so you make the most money, or you're not. And what you don't make in money, you make up for in knowledge gain. And once in a while, you get to have both. You make some good money and you learn a bunch along the way. And much of my HubSpot career was that. And I was super fortunate to learn and grow. A lot of my peers, when they leave HubSpot time, a lot of them were going to like businesses that were building an agency program and I think that was an opportunity. I was fortunate to have spent a lot of time there and have a persona and a profile and a bit of knowledge that was probably marketable and valuable to those opportunities. And I had a lot of outreach from companies looking for it. I didn't want to do the same thing again. I wanted to learn a different product, a different motion. HubSpot was a category creator. Ramp is a category disruptor. Our product here is innovative and on the front lines of what it means to, truly impact the way that a company spends and saves and manages their financial sort of standing. And so it was a little bit of like, I know our VP, we worked together years past. I sent a text message. I'll probably look back in 10 years and say, I'm glad I did. Of just like, hey, it looks like you're having a blast there. Hope all is well. We should catch up sometime, as one does. And that turned into, hey, we're actually working on some cool stuff and I would, love to talk to you and get your input. And then that turned into me sort of saying like, maybe I come help you guys do this. And I think when you look at what Ramp does to transform the way companies grow and scale and the way that they, run their organizations, and how we're working with certainly, partners like you to build something truly impactful, that's just like, absolute darling moment, right? I get to get paid to do cool stuff like that all day. It's great.
Well, one of the things and reasons that we were really interested in bringing you on to the podcast, and we are the unofficial Sage Intech podcast, is you guys just inked. Well, first of all, won a pretty prestigious award with Sage, and just inked a 3-year deal with Sage to really deepen that's not right. Deepen your partnership with
Sage. We can depthen it too. Yeah.
No, depthen it. You're right. Yeah.
I'm going to use that word now.
Yeah, I don't know if you really do, but to deepen your relationship with Sage Intacct, can you tell us a little bit about the award and that now kind of extension of the partnership you've had?
Yeah, I mean, we were very intentional early on looking where our customer base exists, right? So sort of like a core principle within partnerships is go to where your customers are, join that conversation, and obviously look to add more value, right? And deliver more value. For us, Sage is one of those ecosystems that was a no-brainer. That customer base, as you guys know, obviously, is in a position where they can really benefit from the things that we do, right? So, corporate card and spend management, procurement, AP, travel, like all of the different components of what makes Ramp unique and a good solution for our customers. We're all parts of what, sometimes Sage does, but in many ways does not do as a platform. And so connecting with them and building a relationship with them made sense. A, because we can service the customer well together, and B, because for us as a go-to-market, it makes sense to go where we can do that really effectively early on. At a later date, years down the road, we'll talk about sort of kicking the door in other places and making it more of a battle and fight. But like, I always subscribe to this idea that if you can do something really effective, but also easy, and it delivers additive value, it's a win. That's Sage for us, for sure. The relationship predates me certainly significantly, but having spent time with Sage customers, partners, and leadership there, it's pretty evident, like they're very much bought in on this relationship as well. We see great customer metrics. Like our customers are super happy, our mutual customers, right? Our partners are super happy. And so, I think if you look at from a go-to-market perspective, as a leader in any business, all you want is happy, healthy customers that, stick around and do so for many years. And so the unit economics and the metrics around what Sage has been able to do for our customers in terms of relationship and how we've been able to do it together has just been fantastic. And so long-winded answer, but like, I think if you look at accolades aside, the way that our relationship benefits our mutual customer and our mutual partner, it's a no-brainer to stick around and do it for longer.
So we've gotten a little bit in here, which I love, by the way. But I think we skipped past something that's kind of important, Barrett, if you don't mind me circling back.
Sure.
So we know who you are. You mentioned Ramp a couple times, how great the partnership is with Sage Intact, all this fun stuff. Do you want to take your best stab at giving us Ramp in a box? Give us the elevator pitch, that 60-second or less. Who is Ramp? But I'm going to challenge you. You seem like a guy who likes a good challenge.
I'm in.
You got to do it in a way that's not just pitching Ramp.
Yeah.
Who are you? But
That's
not
fun.
in a salesy way, you know?
Yeah. I think I'll keep it simple. I used to use this framework when I ran sales training. It was what, how, why. What do you do? How do you do it? And why is it valuable? Super simple. It's not really a pitch here. I think about being a CFO. It was a persona actually I had tried to sell to for years at HubSpot when we were selling CRM. And like, with all due respect and love and care here, like the hardest persona for me to work with, because they were so hyper focused on profitability, spend management, financial optimization. And that was not what the platform did. HubSpot has CRM and MarTech and et cetera. Then I came here and I listened to a couple early calls and I talked to a few CFOs. Totally different conversation, because we spoke their language. And so if you're a controller, a CFO, if you're a CEO, if you're anybody who cares about the way that your dollars in and dollars out are being optimized, not just for better profitability, but time well spent, Ramp's your solution. We are very uniquely positioned to be the CFO's operating platform. And because we connect to tools like Sage, we get to bring all of your data in and use that to inform how you spend your time and money to be not just effective and efficient, but truly optimized for what makes you free, frankly, to do more of the thing that you signed up to do in the beginning, which is build great products and deliver great services and help your customers win. And so I think what makes Ramp unique and the value prop that we deliver today is we are an all-in-one solution for financial teams to truly do what they do best. And then we bring a little flair to it. We've got some machine learning and some AI and some little pizzazz on top that accelerates that value and growth over time and saves, countless hours and dollar signs at the end of every month and every year. And that matters to us.
So I feel like you skipped over something that is shockingly interesting. Flair, pizzazz, two of my most used words. I think anyone who knows me will say that's what I'm known for saying. And you just kind of glossed over some of the interesting components of what you guys are doing. Can you publicly disclose some meaty details on some of those Flair components? Because I love Flair.
Or share some top secrets. This is the unofficial, so we can be unofficial.
Totally. I also like having a job, so I'll be conscious of what I say next, especially this job. Here's what I'll say: like, if you think about what we're doing right now, right? We're in a point in tech. I'll go big picture for a second, where the more interconnected our systems become, the more data flows freely. So if you build something really effective and really, good, if you will, at ingesting that data, which Ramp is, and then you point that power at finance, just money in general, I think we can all agree like the lifeblood of any company is how they spend their money. If you listen to an early stage founder or VC, they'll tell you like, what's your burn rate and how much time do you have left, basically, right? It's always a countdown. I have a buddy who's got a startup he's been at for about 8 years now. And every month he's like, I might run out of cash. I might not, right? He's always thinking about it. If you think about a late stage, Fortune 1000 big company, same thing, like where we spend our money and how we getting the most return on our dollar. And so if you could get to a point where you could impact, right? If you could touch and impact all the different ways that a dollar is spent throughout the life cycle of a customer, how could you drive value differently? It's interesting to think about that. And what I would offer is like when you look at the way that Ramp does impact a variety of different components and does it well and does it consistently, and then you add in the fact that like we're doing it across tens of thousands of customers and working with thousands of customers more every month and growing and doing our best to deliver that value consistently, I could hypothetically say it gets interesting to think about how could you take the learnings of one industry and share it more broadly? How could you amplify what's working well in one sector to help others do the same? How could you take the information you're gathering Prime example, like we just had our kickoff in New York, and I took the train up, and my tickets showed up in the app and automatically matched the spend program that was already in existence. And then I went and I bought like this little fruit bowl thing or whatever the heck it was, and a soda water when I got to the station there, because I was starving, because why would I ever eat in the train? And that matched again. And then I went to my hotel and it was like an hour and a half later, and I was really hungry again. I ordered a burger and it matched again. And so like I think about what that means from a scale perspective, and understanding deeply how customers are optimizing their spend, and then applying that at a global scale across a customer base becomes really fascinating to think about. I would describe that a little bit of like our pizzazz there, but then also, the interconnectivity of the tools, right? So if you think about like whether you're a customer who's never been on technology, so you're a technology adopter, or you're somebody who's like been on the cutting edge, bringing all of your financial systems together will inevitably uncover issues. And so partners like you combined with tools like ours become really interesting, because if the tech itself can learn as it goes and become better, we all love to say AI on recordings these days, right? And I would say like an AI becomes better, LLMs become stronger, the way to glean insights and then apply it becomes more effective. And then you say, well, then agents, we all have a word we love to use right now, like they could do things for you. You combine everything that I just said, hypothetical and sort of realistic to the market, and you apply that to money, you apply that to time. I think it gets pretty cool pretty quick.
One of the things that I always talk about internally and externally when somebody wants to listen to me is that connected systems, whether it's expense or AP, whether it's an AR system, whether it's an industry specific system, is you're really expanding your corporate knowledge, your employees' knowledge into the transactions in real time. So what historically has always happened is the accounting office has been the aggregator of all of this messy information, trying to just dump it into a software so we get some level of insight into financials, where now products like Ramp or other solutions across many subsets of the business's operations are now feeding that information, creating more in-depth transparency into the operations of the company. Now, you said something that I don't think you meant to say, but I'm just going to ask anyway. Is there a potential in which you guys are going to aggregate data that you have from industry specific information to start pulling together sort of trends by industry or by micro vertical or something of that nature?
I mean everything I say, right? I of course I do. I mean, here's what I would offer. Like I don't know from a product perspective where that goes. I know what I see, right? I see more and more platform solutions taking collective insight and applying it. HubSpot did that for years. Salesforce does that. Amazon does that. We've all experienced the like buy this next thing, right? Um, I don't know if that becomes a product, if that's just a part of what we do, but I know that financial spend optimization and time optimization are the key sort of pillars and cornerstones of what make Ramp really valuable and unique right now. And it's why competitors and like products in the market are in some ways struggling to, win against us. Not an ego statement. We just were very intentional around building an all-in-one solution. And so I'd say, like, simply put, customer data is interesting because it helps us to improve the platform and build the things that they need. So if you're a customer of Ramp and you want more of that, speak up. We're always listening.
Well, data is king today, and so I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it is. I think it is a big impact, and what organizations like yours, where you have the credit card product on top of the AP product, have insights that I don't think everybody does. Every
Yeah.
product does that separates it.
It's interesting to think about. This is not a Ramp statement. This is a Barrett statement, observing the market, observing our product and our customers, and what I'm hearing from partners. I would say it would be interesting if, you could take all of that feedback, you could take all of that insight and, apply, that to a technology that could take procurement to the next level. Like, respectful statement here, I mean this genuinely, but like to those that are in procurement, I absolutely appreciate what you do and could never be in that world. It's brutal. You just like put on armor every day and go battle in the streets, right? What if it wasn't that difficult? Like, what if you could just say, I'm an organization, I'm on Ramp, I want to buy 1,000 seats of, I don't know, Gong. We all know what Gong is, right? I don't have to go and like call some AE. I don't have to go and like run through a sales process. Like I know what it is. Maybe I'm the CRO and I've been at 10 companies in the past, 15 years, and all of them have had Gong. And I just want Gong. But I want the best price. I want the best package. I want to optimize for my team's use. What if you could just do that? Like I had a partner ask me that, actually, and a customer, funny enough, on a call a couple of weeks ago. Like, could you do that? I'm like, I don't know. That's an interesting idea. I think there's a world where that starts to become the norm. Procurement becomes easier. Like you connect product usage to ROI. You connect spend to ROI. And so it's not just, can we help you to manage your corporate spend and be really effective, but like, what if you could procure software easier, faster, more effectively? What if you could drive value quicker to your team members who need that tool because you weren't having to think about, but how do I get there? Like it's just done. It's pre-baked.
So I think you're speaking me and Emily's language right now. You're kind of flip-flopping the whole idea of sales processes and making them truly consultative sales process, in which knowing the product and how it can solve the solution is more important than knowing how to sell the product, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask the sales trainer in me from years ago, I'd always say, solve the pain but sell the value. I love my little statements like that. I get a kick out of it. Like,
do you put them on t-shirts? That would be a good thing to put on a t-shirt.
That's a good
like
t-shirt.
Have an enamel pen and then just like keep on button them. We should. That's $1 million idea.
That's money. I'm in for that. Sparkles and pizzazz. Yeah, I mean, like if you look at the way people spend money, candidly, like before joining Ramp, I looked at corporate spend management. In my mind, I'm like, I haven't had a corporate card in years. Like for what? For those 8 business trips I'll take over the course of a 10-year period. First off, there are millions of people that travel every day, every week, every month. So I'll just eat that real quick and say I was totally wrong. Forgive me, world. The other side of it, though, is all the other things that companies spend money on. It's like pens for your office, lunch that you get catered every week, and I can go on, right? And so if you think about all the different ways that, the world around your company is trying to take cash from your pocket, and you say, like, could I optimize that? It directly correlates to you being sold to. And I could see a world where, like, what if that was easier? And I'm a salesperson at heart. I was in sales for years. I'm, I guess, in part in sales now. Like, and I think if you look at the way that technology and platforms like Ramp, I'll say openly, have evolved and how quickly we move very fast. We are very effective and efficient in how we deliver scaled value to our customers. What if the tools could do that for you over time? I think with agents and AI and the advancement of, through enterprise computing, you're going to see those connectors happen faster, which means the salesperson, the sales role, the sales function in any organization needs to be more effective at conveying value and specific problem-solving need. The idea of like show up and be sold something is kind of dead. I'll put that on record. It's kind of old. Doesn't work anymore.
So you said that was a Barrett statement, Barrett thought process, if you will. Now, do you think that could be on the product roadmap for Ramp moving forward? Have you seen any other call it competitors, not to be named because we'll never name another competitor?
We would never do that. Never.
Who have been either shopping that idea, pitching it out there in some type of beta form, or is this a concept that you think just needs to happen and somebody needs to evolve to get to that point?
The idea of being able to have a system that would help you buy. Is that what you're saying?
Tied in with just all expenses related to the organization. So yeah, quasi procurement, the general travel spend, tech spend, all that fun stuff in one spot.
I think you hear it. Like you hear it in the industry. You do hear it from competitors, all the people that are out there that are users. Like it's definitely in the forums. I don't know what the word is you would use there. Probably forums. I think there's
archives. Yeah.
Archives. Yeah. I think there's a world where, I mean, if you like, the reason I'm sort of double talking is twofold. One, like I'm not that important. I don't know that much. But also two, I do think that there are ideas that get thrown around that I want to be respectful of sharing in a space where like someone goes, are you doing that? I don't know. But I could say openly, I think it'd be interesting if companies were able to capture that interconnectivity and speed it up. And that'd be really interesting to think about. Beyond this idea of like an all-in-one solution, but in a truly like outcome oriented and like, to be clear too, automated. Like we're not talking about people having to push buttons. If you look at, I saw a case the other day, I don't remember the name of the company or I'd reference them, but They said they spend an average of 3 to 5 hours at the end of every month settling their books and sort of finishing up their you know, their taxes and their spend and all the stuff that they have to do, right? And using Ramp, they shorten that 3 to 5 hours to 15 to 25 minutes. You're like, holy crap. What else could you do with that level of optimization? What if you could find ways, to the point we were making, of like bringing in, well, how are you using this software and what is user data like? And I think it's sort of boundless at this point.
More applicable type of more applicable knowledge.
Okay.
You brought up a good use case there. I always love to ask this, especially with people in the kind of technology implementation world. Obviously,
Sure.
Sage Intacct. That's the world we talk about here.
Yeah.
Can you recall offhand maybe the absolute, I don't want to say most disastrous entity you've gone into, and what that process looked like before you came in? I'm really curious because I love hearing about the train wreck stories.
Yeah.
Everyone always talks about the great partnerships, the
Yeah.
success, all the great outcomes. What was just horrific?
Yeah. I heard I don't know if this is true, so call it what it is, but I heard a story in my first couple of weeks here. There's a business that was 3 weeks post end of month close to finish their books. That was like to pay their team members, to rectify, everything. Like it was 3 weeks into the next month. And then they would literally have, like, call it 5 business days to kind of clear their heads and reset and do it all over again. That to me sounds horrific. Like I don't, my brain doesn't function that way. The idea of doing something for 3 weeks and then, and that's like, not that it was valuable. I'm saying these people were doing great work, but it took them 3 weeks because they were on a homegrown solution and it just was acceptable. I think that's the part that was most shocking to me. I think there's probably better examples than that. Maybe I'll go dig and I'll send you guys a little, iPhone selfie video. Go, Emily, hit me.
But no, I talk to clients all the time, and that what you just said is more common than you think.
I was thinking
Right?
the same thing.
Terrifying.
So 3 weeks, I've had people go longer than 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And they're on, like you said, a homegrown system. Maybe they're on QuickBooks, whatever they're on. It's not working for them, and technology needs to come in and help them free up time. And then whenever they have time freed up, they're able to make those strategic decisions that I think every accounting team, every CFO wants to make.
It was fascinating though, is like you all of a sudden have to do something with that time. And I actually think I've heard a few recordings. I try and listen to like client and partner calls as often as I can to stay on the pulse, but where they're like, what would I do with, basically 3 extra weeks a month? And you're like, let's get creative and think about how we could spend our money better, how we spend our time better, right? Like, holy cow, what a novel concept. I liken it back to like here's a relatable example I can give. So I'll speak back to HubSpot again because it was a good early career comment. And I joined HubSpot at like 29. So it's like sort of mid sales career, early sales career. And I came from a startup that had like almost no infrastructure to like a mediocre built engine. HubSpot was like 800 people. And I go there and I'm going to do outbound, right? I'm going to go reach out to prospective partners. And so I proudly will say on this call, or this convo, excuse me, I hit 186% of my goal in 6 months. And folks are like, what are you doing differently? I literally had built sequences. I had built like my own automation. I crafted a specific message that worked, but that's a separate convo. But I had cadenced out a series of 5 emails, and I included emails and tasks to go and connect with them on LinkedIn and then send them a message there as well in my cadence. It lived in a Google Doc. I used Salesforce reports to know the next email I had to send. Like I sent email 2, cool. It would filter into the view that showed email 3 as the next send, and I would go and send individually to those folks. But I was doing about 50 to 75 net new email outreaches a day because of this, which was more than our BDRs were certainly doing, and they were the engine at the time. And it helped me annihilate my number. I generated an average of 50 to 75 new opportunities a month. My peers were generating 30 to 40. So like all of these metrics happened because I figured out how to automate myself in the most horrific way possible. I joined Ramp, and I don't know, a week or 2 in, I got word of this platform that we were using to help optimize the way that our teams were engaging our prospective customers. It made that process I just shared with you sound like your grandmother was trying to bake cookies on her own, like over a fire in the woods with like no tray to cook on. It was like so antiquated and so old school. And I think about how technology continues to drive its force forward, and that people like us that are in it every day are so comfortable with that. And then I talk about what I do with like my wife, who's not in tech, and she'll just look at me with this glazed over look sometimes and be like, you just said words. I didn't listen to anything you said. I don't know what happened. And then I think about like my peers sometimes who are in tech, who are still like, you did what? How did you do that? I don't understand what you just said. And then I think about the customer example you just gave, Emily, which is spot on. And but we've existed like this for so long. It's frankly what makes me bullish on Ramp as a platform, partners like you all, and then the Sage Intact ecosystem where there are thousands and thousands of customers that would benefit from this. And it's just a matter of letting them know it exists. And that's pretty exciting to me.
And help him manage that fear of change. I mean, that's the
Sure.
one thing
Totally.
that I see so much, and where I think me and Emily fight, because me and Emily spend a lot of time scoping and doing this, and it's that consultative space, and it's how do we communicate with them that a better approach that actually helps them, doesn't hurt them, isn't this fear.
Fear of change is real.
What Matt means by fight, we meet up in the middle
That's what I was
of the
picturing.
country and we throw hands.
I pictured you guys in the streets somewhere, just like swinging at each other. I mean, the change management's hard. Yeah, I don't doubt that. Change management's hard. Like, I think if you look at the way that most customers see value, it's through comfortability. I always use the analogy of like the scary movie thing. So does anyone here like scary movies? Any of the three of you like scary movies?
Of course.
Oh, you do? Doesn't surprise me, actually, Doug. Matt, Emily, you guys like scary movies?
It's not my favorite, but I don't hate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm much into like a rom-com.
Yeah, I didn't like scary movies. I met my wife and she's like, I do. Okay, great. So I'm going to watch scary movies now. And we watched the first couple or whatever. And I remember being like, jump scared constantly. And then at this moment where I'm like, what's scary? Like, I know it's not real. It's because movies, I'm about to be 40 for age reference here, right? So movies growing up were always predictable. There's like 6 to 8 formats. Every movie you watch was that. And while you get excited about it, it wasn't until the early 2000s with like Inception and other movies, 300, that like became really innovative, that you saw new for the first time in a generation or two. And then you change genres and you're like, holy crap, this is terrifying. Well, it's scary because you don't know what's coming. Same thing's true for prospects. Same thing's true in the market right now, where we talk about how, Ramp delivers specific value. Now that I work here, I'm like, why would you not ever do this? But then I talk to customers and they're like, well, the hallway is dark. There's a creepy sound. There's a creature in the corner, and there's this like smell in the air or whatever it is, right? We'll get gross. And then you turn the light on and you're like, oh, it was like a coat on a rack in the corner. The dripping is the faucet they didn't turn off. And like the smell is the bacon they cooked this morning. And you're like, it's actually not scary. It's totally just a living room. A lot of what happens in industry shifts like this is as soon as you have to shed a little bit of light on the problem, people get even more awkward because they're like, oh, it's not a scary monster that I've been putting off for 10 years. It's actually just a coat on a rack. And I think businesses like yours, partnered with companies like ours, get to be in a really cool spot to have that conversation every day. And frankly, it's part of what excites me about where we're going.
You painted a phenomenal picture, by the way, until you got to the bacon smell. I feel like that was.
Yeah, like
who
bacon.
smells that and then get scared? They're like, "Oh, that's
it's
gross."
Weird. It's the only thing I could think of. It was like strong enough,
Yeah, I mean that seems like a product issue at that point with the bacon. But you brought up an interesting point, which ties directly into not only like the outsourcing world, the expense management world, but kind of the technology world in general. Right now, the average baby boomer is 68 years old. And they still own the overwhelming majority of privately held businesses in the U.S. Yep. Now we're getting into my world. I do a lot of M&A work between accounting firms. So this is something I come into every single day.
Cool.
It's not uncommon for me to see not only accounting firms themselves, but the client base inside these practices are on archaic systems, mainly due to the owners of these organizations fearing change, not understanding the technological advancements that have happened, in the past 10, 15, sometimes 20, 30 years at these organizations. So that fear of change management and all that fun stuff, I think is really starting to rear its head across the board. And from what I see, there's no industry that's really safe from that. I mean, the amount of succession and M&A activity that's happening right now in across the entire US, honestly, globally, is pretty staggering.
It's impressive. Isn't it Cody Sanchez that says it's like 10 million businesses a year or something like that? Some crazy number. I think if you look at the big picture right now, people talk a lot about AI and agents and how disruptive it is in tech and everywhere else. And that's the sort of like blanket statement that we make because it's easy to point to one dimension of the opportunity or problem, depending on how you look at it. I think when you look at, to your point, the massive wealth shift and the way that the boomers are, they're distributing their businesses and they're either giving them to their kids or they're selling them off to the market, or obviously what we're seeing with PE acquisition of like, respectfully, what I would say, like the unsexy, the boring businesses, right? Because they're very profitable and consistent. I have a secret wish I'll tell you on recording here that someday, and I believe I will do this, that I'm going to buy an HVAC company. I'm just fascinated by it because it's like something we all need. It exists in the market. It has for years. Your grandfather probably owns one. And tech is so opportunistic in that space. You could do some really cool stuff. Same thing's true for CPAs and accountants. Same thing is true for, my wife was in hair early in her career and used to work in a salon. She was the head stylist. Like salons, like all of these different industries are prime for disruption. I think what's cool about and unique about Ramp as a platform and why I get sort of anchored back into it, why I'm excited to be here, is that our TAM, our customer, ICP, is any company anywhere that spends money ever. It's like, so, okay, so every company on earth, like, yes, that's who we help. And so whether you are 80 years old and refusing to let go, or you are 18 and you just started your first, this is a cool time to be in tech, and it's a cool time to be in business and consumer facing roles because of the way that technology is accelerating how we deliver value.
You said something interesting there, and this will get sort of where I wanted to end the conversation.
Sure.
In a way, is kind of what that maybe unsaid roadmap is for Ramp. You said any company anywhere in the world, but I
Yeah.
don't think that Ramp is everywhere in the world maybe yet.
Not today. Nope. Today we're North America and Canada primarily focused. Look, I mean, we're growing fast and we're doing really cool stuff. I think you can paint the picture for yourselves in terms of knowing what we're trying to do as we grow. My core remit, my focus, my mission is to cultivate partnerships with organizations that add value to our customer base, help us increase our reach, our impact, and the value that we deliver. And for me, in my mind, that's boundless. I would say over time, product will evolve, offices will grow, people will get hired. Like that's the sort of natural progression of a platform that accelerates growth in other companies. Where we go next, time will tell.
There you go.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to end it.
It can be. And I'm going to throw the offer out to you, Barrett. So we end every single episode with just a terrible dad joke. And I mean bad. I mean
nice.
just bacon smelling dad joke.
Yeah.
And I always throw the offer out to Emily, Matt, and or our guest if they want to take a stab at one. Otherwise, I'm happy to take it on. But
I bet you
seem
have
like
one
a
now.
Guy who has a good dad joke on deck. You give your personality just feeds that.
You would think so. Yeah, you would think so. And I have a 6-year-old, so I should be better at it. He does not find me funny. Not that he should, but like, why would a 6-year-old find their dad funny? I did make the mistake. So he's a maybe less of a joke and perhaps just a funny anecdote, but I made the mistake the other day. He's a Lego nut and a trainiac, a self-proclaimed trainiac, which means he's obsessed with the Lego concept and then obviously trains. Pretty easy correlation there. And I made the mistake of thinking about telling him, and then I did, dumb idea, that Legos is actually the improper use of the word. It doesn't exist. If you ask Lego company, they'll say you refer to multiple Lego bricks. And so I told my 6-year-old that, and I'm pretty sure you all can assume how that landed. Not only did he roll his eyes directly into the back of his head, I was concerned they were going to get stuck there. They went so far. But he said, "Dad, no, you are wrong." A phrase I should probably get used to at this point. "They're Legos, duh." And so I think if anything else, the story is like, you're not as smart as you think you are as a dad.
Yeah, and Barrett, I really do think you're wrong. I'm gonna go ahead and agree with your 6-year-old. I think you were
Google
mistaken.
You could Google it. It was disturbing to me to find out. Maybe they've changed their position, but apparently the story is you can't say Legos. You can say Lego bricks for multiples.
I think your only course of action now is to write a letter to Lego discussing this issue.
I think they'd care. I'm actually a LinkedIn guy, so I'm going to go tag the CEO of Lego on LinkedIn. Hey, change this. It's uncomfortable.
I'm sure you'll get a prompt response, well thought out response.
I feel like I might do this. This might be a fun thing.
That could be enjoyable.
Evening.
Yeah, let me know because I'd love to see the non-response. So I'm going to take it you don't want to take a stab at a dad joke then. So
no,
that was an intelligence issue.
I want to hear. Yeah, it's a whole
intelligence.
I want to hear yours. Let's go. Hit me with it. I'm ready to laugh.
All right.
I don't want to say you'd laugh.
All right. Let's see. Why did the coach yell at the vending machine?
Oh boy, I'm ready. Tell me.
Matt, Emily, taking a stab?
I want to say it dropped the ball or something like that.
Yeah.
Because he wanted his quarterback.
Uh,
Oh, come
Wow.
Come on.
Whatever website that's
Uh-huh.
on,
Come
kudos to
on,
them. That
guys.
is well
Oh,
played.
there you go.
Holy
I didn't say
cow.
they were good. I said they were awful. I
That's
set the
brilliant.
bar really low, and then I just meet that bar. It's
I
great.
got to warm that up. Next time I'll come better prepared. That's good to know.
You should. Well, I always do it off the top of my head. I always offer it out to everybody, and occasionally someone takes me up on it. But if not, I got to backfill with terrible ones. But Barrett, you've been shockingly eloquent this entire time. You've actually made some good points, which I wasn't expecting.
Wow.
Well, sorry, I call him like I sneeze him.
I'll take it.
Yeah, hey, come on, it is what it is, buddy. No, but
Barrett,
we do.
you're getting the brunt of his
I gotta keep my hands up.
animosity.
Yeah. And normally it's
Usually
targeted
me.
at Matt.
It's usually
Well,
me.
I'll take it.
Matt was just low hanging fruit. For those who are listening and not watching this episode, Matt's wearing what seems to be a tracksuit, I believe, and I'm hoping
It's not a tracksuit. It is just a fleece. Thank
just
you.
a fleece. Well, it looks like a tracksuit, and I love it. It looks great on you. But Barrett, no, this has actually been shockingly fun. I set the bar very low, just like my dad jokes. And you've shockingly exceeded that. But thanks for sharing the story of Ramp. What you're doing, what you're seeing in the marketplace. There's some interesting tidbits that came out of this, and we hope to have you back on. And I would love to see your Lego fiasco, how that plays out.
Can't wait. I'm going to go viral on LinkedIn after this for calling out the CEO of Lego. Let's go. I'm in.
Do it.
I think you know better. Yeah, you're much more successful. Thanks for joining, Barrett. Appreciate your time today, my friend.
Does Lego have ramp?
It's a great question. I'm going to go check our Salesforce right now. Yeah.
All right, perfect.